Episode 13. I am your biggest fan. Carly, Sam, and Freddie get to meet this big iCarly fan named Mandy, but she's a crazy fan. Alright, well, I'm just gonna be frank. When I'm not bored with this episode, I'm just really annoyed. Actually, there are some good jokes in there, but honestly, that's the most I like. Alright, so in terms of jokes I do like, I like the one clip where Sam says she wants to stay at Carly's place because she doesn't want to see her mom in the bikini. Two symbols of Spencer's drum just setting on fire for literally no reason. However, this new girl, Mandy, is just so annoying. She's not unbearable or anything, but the duck mask and her constant quack quack is just very annoying. I really don't have that much to say about this episode. It's just, alright. Yeah, it's a meh episode. Episode 14. I Heart Art. Spencer gets to meet one of his favorite artists, only for him to drain all of his confidence by dissing his sculptures. Oh boy. Alright, well, this episode, literally like the last episode, is just either really stupid or really boring. The main plot where Spencer gets to meet one of his idols sounds like a good idea, but even still, the way it's executed just comes off as kind of mean. I do like the idea of Spencer losing all of his courage because Harry Joyner, his inspiration, calls his art childish, but even still, besides the human sculpture around the middle and this one big teeth thing that they both make in the end, we don't really know what Harry does. However, the main plot at best is alright, and if it was just that, then I'll consider this episode alright. But unfortunately, I think this episode is literally dragged down by everything else. First of all, the subplot where Sam has to pay Freddie whenever she makes insults at him is just... At first starts out alright, but then I just start cringing 110% when Sam starts to get a mental breakdown, quote unquote. When she goes for a couple days without making fun of him, it's just so cartoonish, but not in a funny way. It's just dumb. Anyway, the biggest problem with the episode really is just that it's just so boring and lacks identity. I know other episodes with that problem have gotten a meh rating, but with the other problems of the episode, I just find this episode to be very lackluster. It's not terrible or unbearable or anything, but I wouldn't consider this close to meh by any means. Also, there's this one joke where Spencer has a Christmas tree of feet, and yeah, this is a bad episode just because of that. 5, 4, 3, 2, bad. Episode 15. Trust me, guys, we only got 10 more episodes. I hate Sam's boyfriend. Sam has a new boyfriend, and he's like really annoying, so Carly and Freddie have to break them up or something. When the subplot of this episode, which is kind of small and is about 2 scenes and doesn't really add up to anything besides maybe the climax, is the only good part of this episode, then you know that we have a terrible episode in our hands. 5, 4, 3, 2, bad episode. Why do I hate this episode? 4 things. The plot, the comedy, Sam, and the new kid Jonah. Let's go from the lesser of the evils. The comedy is so lacking in this episode. I don't think a single joke made me laugh. Well, other than the Spencer's "oh my god" reaction to Jonah messing with Spencer's stop motion figures. Not to mention, one thing that Season 1 does have an interesting trend with, and honestly is ramped up to max in this episode, is a cringeworthy dialogue that disguises as comedy, but I just can't help but facepalm every time I hear it in this episode especially. Some of the worst ones are lines like, "he wanted some Carly kisses and you're icky." None of these are funny, just kind of annoying. However, the cringeworthy dialogue is the least offensive, surprisingly. Everything else about this episode just sucks super hard. The plot sucks. Most of the episode really is just Sam and Jonah just gushing over how awesome each other are. In the process, everyone gets annoyed, and it's so irritating. To be honest, the plot is kind of on the same level as the dialogue, but what makes both of them worse is the next problem, Jonah. This kid actually seems like a chill dude at first, but later he not only comes with more cringeworthy dialogue, like seriously, Captain Wartburger or whatever, is not funny. You have to say it like 4 freaking times. But later, alright, so you're going to notice that throughout all of Mr. Schneider's shows, these couples from iCarly and onwards are poorly thought out, like really poorly thought out. The guy usually ends up cheating on the girl, and or the girl is very shallow and will date the burliest hot white guy they see. Back to Jonah. So Jonah ends up cheating on Sam and tries to kiss Carly at the end. Why? At the end, there's no reason for it. He just says Sam doesn't have to know about it, or something like that, and he tries to hit on Carly. Granted, there's a similar scene in the later season that's actually much worse and comes off as sexual harassy, if that's a word. But even still, this is just idiotic hack writing that comes out of nowhere. Sam and Jonah seem to have a good relationship, but nope. And lastly, Sam is beyond unbearable here. I understand her attitude changing a bit now, having a boyfriend, but even still, it's so one-dimensional and so cliche. It just drives me up a tree. Not to mention, in that same scene where Jonah messes things up, Sam doesn't really care. She just stands there and kind of feels bad, but it's not one ounce of charm. It's just, I'm not gonna say cringy again. I'm just gonna say irritating, annoying. You get the point. So let's wrap this up. Moral of the story: this episode is just awful. Well, I'm not cringing from the script. I'm getting frustrated by almost all the characters here. Episode 16: I Hatch Chicks. The iCarly crew have to scour around the whole apartment looking for 6 dumb chicks. I'm not even joking. Fine, there's a little more to it. Okay, a lot more to it. But yeah, chicks escape some pod or something, as it's supposed to be for some science project, but yeah, womp womp. It was actually really good. I do appreciate how all the characters have a small subplot, but overall it's just one major subplot. Everyone's still at different areas of the loft, and overall the actual story is different, or consistent. But is the episode funny? Yeah, it is. I don't say enthusiastically because it's not the most hilarious thing ever. Not the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. But there's some good ones in there, like Spencer freaking out over roly poly, despite the fact that in reality it looks like dust or whatever. But whatever. I can't. Come on. But anyway, probably the funniest thing in this episode that actually made me laugh out loud is literally the unintentionally funny, and that is when, like, later in the episode they realize they don't have all the tricks by the web show time, and literally Freddy just smacks the cup of the counter like someone ran over his dog or something. And I know it's unintentionally funny because they didn't have like a laugh track or anything, but no, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's something I found funny. But besides that, Carly is in the bikini in one scene, so yeah, points for eye candy, I guess. Is there anything in this episode I just don't like? Do you really have to ask? For one, there's one big wrestler dude who I forgot his name and really don't care for his name. He's not the worst thing in the world. In fact, he's actually successful in getting 1 or 2 chicks, but like something about him is just annoying. Episode 17. I don't want to fight. Carly and Sam have some tension within their friendship. I'll cut to the chase. I love this episode. There are 3 main reasons. The first reason is the fact that, well, I like everyone here. Guess literally not even 30 seconds in, Sam and Freddy start fighting, but since it's mostly, Carly and Sam fighting, we don't see Sam really going off on Freddy, though she does make this one obnoxious insult to him around the end. Secondly, this is one of the only episodes that actually does a good job coinciding the main plot and the subplot in some areas, but in a very subtle way. You see, for 80% of the episode is based on Carly, Sam, and Freddy like it usually is. However, there's a small, somewhat irrelevant subplot with Spencer trying to find an easier way to feed his fish since he keeps forgetting. However, this is one scene where Freddy tries to get Spencer's help on a situation with the 2 girls. He literally says he didn't really have an idea on what Freddy should do. Before he says that, he says that girls always want to be right. Well, Freddy's plan in the end does involve the fact that both of them believe that they're in the right and want the other one to see that they're in the wrong. It's hard to explain, but there's some foreshadowing in there, and I really like it. Thirdly, quite frankly, this episode has a pretty good concept. I mean, an episode that has Carly and Sam fighting was inevitable, but I really like the way that they present it in this episode. I mean, it's much better than a special in Season 3 that literally rips off of it, but I'll get to that later. In conclusion, this episode is a really good episode. Episode 18, I promote Tech Foots. Okay, before anything, the name Tech Foots it's really stupid. So Carly, Sam, and Freddy have to promote these shoes called Tech Foots in order to get some of that dough from a shoemaking company called Deka, or whatever. Well, I'll be fair, if the name Tech Foots is the worst part of the episode, then you can say this is a pretty good episode. This is amazing or even comedy gold. No, but this episode is kind of like a Drake and Josh Season 3 episode where it's mostly enjoyable for the way it is. I'm not that fussed about it in Season 1 of iCarly since it is the first season, so the quality standard isn't set, but I do apologize for making it seem like having a run of decent episodes is a bad thing in the Season 3 vid. But anyway, is there anything else I don't like? Yeah, there are other things besides the shoe name that I don't like. For one, it's the actual look of the shoe. Granted, this is the 2000s, so it's probably the worst generation when it comes to shoes, but back then, these discount Nikes were probably the bomb, so even still, 10 years later or so, these shoes don't look that great. again, I didn't expect a pair of the newest Jordans, but whatever. Anything I don't like, or I really don't care for the Spencer subplot, like, at all. The best part of it was Carly buying him a motorcycle at the end. There really isn't much to say other than the episode's pretty good. Episode 19, I Got Detention. For the 50th web, bleh, for the 50th webcast, the iCarly crew decided to go to detention. Or not literally go to detention, they decided to do it in detention. So is this episode just as boring and frustrating as detention, or is it a comedy retention? Well, I gotta say that this episode is pretty darn good. For one, I gotta say that this is a pretty good premise that I would have never predicted, which is not a bad thing at all. I mean, I actually really like the detention setting a lot. In the episode, I've never been in detention, or at least hopefully so far. Yes, most of the episode is just a meh classroom, but I do like how the whole detention idea not only gives the episode, or at least the second half, a small ticking clock whenever Mr. Howard, the mean bald guy, enters and exits the room, but also adds a whole slew of jokes. So does the episode make me laugh? Yes, it does. From Freddy basically making a security system just to find out who stole his markers, to Spencer literally making a 10-foot 2 coffee cup. Not to mention the fact that the coffee cup literally has a Skybucks logo, which is a parody of Starbucks. It's pretty funny. To be honest, it's one of the only parodies of all Danish Schneider shows that actually gets a laugh out of me, and not just a try-hard attempt at comedy. To be honest, there's not that much wrong with this episode. The characters seem to be intact personality-wise. The comedy doesn't bother me anyway. The plot doesn't have any holes in it, and overall, it's just a pretty good episode. Episode 20, I Stake Out. 2 cops start to be busybodies around the loft, and to be honest, I can't think of a good synopsis with this episode. And with that said, you can already tell that this is not going to be a good episode. So, yeah, terrible episode. 5, 4, 3, 2, bad episode. There are 2 main problems with this episode. Too much goes on, and it's, again, very, very cringy. So let's get on with the lesser of the evils. Okay, so for one, the episode is not really funny. The Spencer subplot with him and this one cop and this kid is amusing, but besides the ending where Spencer hits the guy with a broom and the kid watching, none of it is really that funny. Honestly, the best joke of the episode is at the end where the other cop says, "Nothing's illegal about bad acting," but the rest of it is just corny. Not just corny, but very irritating. Really irritating, actually. There's this one kind of subplot where Freddy loses to Sam in the bet, so he has to get a tattoo from her cousin or aunt, or I forgot. I honestly think this whole shtick is the worst part of this episode. None of it is funny. The way he reacts to it is really irritating. The fact that Sam doesn't really care about consent is just annoying. And the fact that by the end it was just apparently a temporary tattoo, but had as much pain removing it as a normal one, it's stupid. In a way, this episode is Freddy's first torture episode. Mind you, it's not the worst, which is really scary, but still horrible subplot. Now, the big problem with this episode is that there's just way too much going on. The fact I can't really think of a good enough bio for it just shows that there's way too much. The main thing, I guess, is that 2 cops are on a stakeout mission, but we have the crew go out and see what's up by the end. We have them disrupting the webcast. We have the annoying Spencer subplot with the tattoo subplot. There's just too much going on. Again, there's small jokes in there, but overall, I hate this episode with a burning passion. Episode 21, I Might Switch Schools. Carly is invited to a new school, and Sam and Freddy try to stop her from doing so. So one thing to note here is that Shane from Smosh is here. It's before he was a part of the crew on that somewhat irrelevant channel now, but it's still kind of funny in hindsight. Sadly, that little inside joke is probably the best part of this episode, because as a whole, this episode, like the last one, is a little bit messy. Not as messy, and granted, there are more positive with this episode. For one, the whole golf theme that's kind of with this episode makes it stand out a bit. And I like the dream sequence with Carly in the new school, and I love how after waking up, she realizes how weird real life is. She just goes right back to sleep and put that one part where Sam and Freddy make that phone call to Briarwood, the new school. However, with all the funny jokes, the episode as a whole is, like I said, a bit messy. The second half is entirely at the loft with no subplots at all, really. It's just a bunch of kids doing whatever. And it's not boring, but it's not the pinnacle of good comedy or anything. I was debating on whether I would give this a meh or a 5, 4, 3, 2 bad rating. But after thinking about it, I gotta give it a very, 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 very reluctant meh rating. Episode 22, I Fence. Freddy gets tired of tagging along with Carly and Sam when they do girly stuff, so he bonds with Spencer by fencing. For one thing, I never expected the Schneider crew to tackle fencing of all activities, but I'm glad that they did it because it is a unique take. So how is this episode as a whole? Oh, well, it's not good. It's not that good. For one big reason, Carly. Carly is very obnoxious in the first half, and the second half too, to a lesser extent. So let's just take a back seat real quick. There's one family that's good friends with Carly and Spencer called the Dorfman, or something like that. I forgot what their names were. Are visiting from Fresno to attend the one dorkish festival. Carly and Spencer can't stand them, but they have to put up with them anyway. However, when they visit, Spencer spends time to train with Freddy, whilst Carly is stuck with the annoying family. Unsurprisingly, she snaps at Spencer while he gets back, and that's the problem. This isn't the first and last episode where Spencer is a lackluster authority. I know that he and Carly are siblings, but the fact that Carly just goes off on him like that, like she's the adult, she has just an obnoxious tone to her. It's just really, really annoying. It just kills her character for me. I understand the character is annoying, but this scene could have been a powerful argument between two siblings, but no, just a stupid girl who thinks that she can just get wherever she wants. To be fair, the second half of this episode isn't that bad. Mrs. Benson shows concern for Freddy going out and fencing, and it's revealed that the Benson family apparently is known for their high-quality fencing. But then there's the ending scene. So there's this one dude named Doug Toter who keeps hating on Spencer and Freddy when fencing, but at the end, Freddy and Doug fight. Even though Freddy defeats him in most of the round, Doug then throws a cheap shot, and Mrs. Benson comes in, takes him on, and he just chickens out. And then I realized, what was the point of Freddy doing it all for his mom if her mom was just going to do it, was just going to win for him. It's not that bad, but it's a very frustrating part of the episode. Overall, the episode isn't a terrible episode, but I still have to call it a 513. Episode 23, iCarly Saves TV. Like the title says, the iCarly crew has to save TV. No, I'm just kidding. But seriously, iCarly actually becomes an actual TV show picked up by this ambitious but somewhat dumb producer, and it starts becoming less and less like it used to be. Alright, so let's get the bad stuff out of the way. The beginning webcast is probably one of the less amusing so far, to be honest. For one, it's not really funny to see Freddy's pants literally blow up, and overall, the comedy just doesn't really seem there. The episode is cheesy but self-aware. I feel that one of the cheesy parts, Zeebo the Dinosaur, which is just another parody of Barney, when controlled by the guy from Full House, gets a little annoying, too annoying for my taste. Also, while it gets much worse in the later seasons, in the second half it seems Sam only cares about food and nothing else, and bothers me. Especially when at one point she literally sticks a rib onto Freddy's face. However, that's the worst I gotta say about this episode. Yeah, it's a doggone good episode. I think what really sells this is the comedy. Because everything else is nice, the story is pretty solid, the setup is unexpected, even though it should be expected. I think what really sells this is the comedy. Because everything else is nice, the story is pretty solid, but the comedy itself is in two forms. It's either just in casual banter like normal episodes, or is delivered highly in the cheese factor. Whether it's the producer's daughter watching a corny sitcom that somehow has more quality than Dan Schneider's later work, from the whole presence of Zeebo, etc. Episode 24, I Win a Date. Carly, Sam, and Freddy each win a date with either Gibby, a really, really annoying kid, or a really, really annoying girl. Alright, so, Parody McFaddy episode. The main problem with this episode is that, kind of like the others, the episode has just too much going on and doesn't really have a main conflict. Just like the magical episode of Eye Stakeout. Yes, the overall deal is that Gibby wants the attention of a girl he likes, but a lot goes on. I won't delve too much into how conflicting it is, because I've already discussed how, I don't want to say cringy, I don't want to say irritating, I don't want to say annoying, so fine, irritating it is. But basically, we go from doing the little game show thing at the end to being at the Cheesecake Factory or whatever. At the same time, though, even though there isn't much I like about this episode, there ain't a ton of things I hate, so it is a light, bad episode, but even so, I don't like it. And finally, episode 25, I Have a Lovesick Teacher. Carly, Sam, and Freddy have a lovesick teacher. So does season 1 end on a positive note, an okay note, or a negative note? Fortunately, and honestly somehow it does, it ends on a good note. Again, what really sells this episode is the comedy, as it's really freaking good. In fact, I actually would say this is the funniest episode of season 1. If I point out all the jokes that made me laugh, then we'd be here forever, so I'm just going to pick out the standout ones. Those include the nonchalant, she left I dumped her from Spencer, Sam seriously taking notes on her stomach. No, I wonder how odd it was for the production to literally write all the text on her, but whatever. It also reminds me that Jeanette McCurdy was basically a twig back then, like Jesus. The teacher having Carly and Freddie do jumping jacks while literally having Sam wash her car. There's a lot to love here. In terms of story, yikes, it's not that bad, but I don't get how the bra teacher acts craved and too forgiving when she has a boyfriend, but when she doesn't, she acts all grumpy. But either way, the jokes make up for the somewhat small oversight. And that is every episode of iCarly Season 1 reviewed. So let's look at the stats. 13 good episodes, 4 meh episodes, and 8 5, 4, 3, 2 bad episodes. So, with these decent stats, how do I feel about iCarly Season 1? Well, guys, I've always been conflicted, but after I've always been conflicted, but after deliberation, I gotta say that iCarly Season 1 is definitely a meh season, and to be honest with you, it's not all that far from 5, 4, 3, 2 bad. Whoa, I never expected this to happen. Well, why do I say this? Because honestly, there are only like 2 or 3 really funny episodes, while the other good episodes are pretty good, but not really good. At the same time, for the most part, I think the episodes are worse than the majority of the bad episodes of Drake and Josh in general. I wouldn't say I regret watching the season, but overall, I just didn't have the time of my life. In fact, I'll probably say it's on level, if not even worse than Drake and Josh Season 1. Hopefully this show will get better. I guess we'll see in Season 2. See you next time when I review every episode of iCarly Season 2. And hopefully that will not take me that long to do, because instead of 25 episodes, we get 21. So instead of 25, we get 21. See you next time.